Okay, we are now live. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Good morning, PM committee members. It's good to see everybody here. We've definitely got quorum, so we'll get this meeting started right away. Look for any disclosures of pecuniary interest if there are any. I've received none in advance, so seeing none now, we'll move forward. We will not be having a Board of Health update from the Medical Officer of Health at this point, as we have been recently, so we'll just continue to move forward with the agenda. Item 4, we have one item to receive and file, an item of correspondence, a bulletin from the Ministry of Long-Term Care. Look for a motion to receive that. Councillor Cook, Councillor Broad seconds that. Is there any discussion on that item? I'm seeing none, so all in favor? That is passed. Thank you. And we have one information report under long-term care. That's a COVID-19 update. I'm looking for a motion to receive that information report. Councillor Arnold, Warden Marriott seconds that. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councillor Cook and then Councillor Boucher.
Yeah, thank you. So just a question through to Jane. I guess everybody's been vaccinated. Do we know what percentage of our staff are? I know we really can't ask the question, but do we know what kind of percentage of our staff are getting vaccinated, Jane?
So across the 3 homes, I think we're pretty close to 87% with first dose. So people are still getting appointments for second dose. And the changes that are able to happen with 85% of the residents and 85% of the residents and 70% of the staff. So we're getting close.
Thank you. Councillor Boucher?
My question has been answered. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is passed. Is there any other business? First, I'll look to the committee under long-term care. I'm seeing none. Ms. Joris, anything from you?
Not from me, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And we will move on to number 5, corporate services. We have this one item tabled from previous meetings, the tabled motion number 23 of the Lambton County Council open session from February 3rd, 2021, and it goes on as it relates to meeting in person. I will look for a motion if anyone has that. Councillor Boucher.
I move that it be taken off the table.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Stark. Okay. And now I will... Yes, Councillor Stark.
Yes. As I read through all of these tabling motions and retabling and off the table, and quite frankly, I'm trying to figure out something very simple. When are we able to go back in to a person-to-person PM committee meeting?
Mr. Tifo, any thoughts on
that? Yep. Through you, Chair White, it's a very good question. At this point in time, I think what we're being modeled by and influenced by is, of course, the Reopening Act and its 3 stages. And currently, we anticipate that indoor so-called meetings up to 5 individuals to be in effect, sometime in July. And then broader-based indoor gatherings, public gatherings and/or social gatherings coming into effect at some point in time in late July, possibly, if the current schedule comes into play, meaning that we meet the public health, or the provinces meet the public health measures that they've put in place to move from one stage to another. And secondly, they maintain each stage within 21 days. So those timelines are looking at essentially late July, August to determine, and we don't know what the facts are or what the rules will be, what can be permitted in terms of indoor public gatherings and or social gatherings. So at that point in time, it's a tough question to answer. All I could say is that it's projected that as early as July 3rd, there might be some room for up to 5 people, which is, of course, not broad enough or big enough for the committee meetings, taking into account that members of the public can attend committee meetings in person as well. So that pushes us to the next stage, stage 3, which is late July. But at this point in time, we have no understanding of what those rules or those numbers will be for stage 3 for, again, indoor social public gatherings. Hence why the recommendation in the report is to push this to the October 6th meeting, which the Committee AM adopted this morning. And the intent of that is to, one, get clarification through stage 3. And of course, once what the rules will be perhaps outside of stage 3, by the end of this summer, so that we can bring that to your attention by the first meeting in October, or sorry, the committee meetings in September.
Okay. Follow up, Councillor Stark.
Yes, and this may or may not be a question that you can answer. Excuse me. On June 26th, I am receiving my second vaccination. I am obviously prepared to provide the fact that I have been vaccinated. Will other members of County Council be prepared to do that, or will we require them to do that? I don't know who can answer that, or if it can be answered.
I don't think we can compel anybody to do such a thing, to be honest with you. So I think that is a.
I think we can't compel them to have a vaccination. We can compel them to declare whether or not they've had a vaccination.
So
I don't think we can either. Mr. Tifo, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, good question. It was we got the identical question this morning. I think for council's consideration, you may want to consider that the policy or the expectation for all members would be that you would get your vaccine, both of them. But moving forward in terms of enacting any kind of hard rule policy for council, that would suggest that either you demonstrate proof of vaccination and or medical exemption or other exemption for it, and or require as a prerequisite to participating in in-person meetings actual vaccination. I don't think, in fact, at this point in time, the answer to that is you really don't have, for lack of a better word, sort of the latitude to go that far. I think the latitude in terms of council, in terms of your own relationship, is to say, hey, look, amongst ourselves, this is our policy, our expectations, but fully appreciate that folks may be exempt for a number of reasons against vaccination, and then you move forward on that basis. The reality is that once we get into, let's say, stage 3 and or post stage 3, there will still be public health measures in effect. For instance, distancing, disinfections and whatnot. So ultimately, there's always going to be wellness, safety safeguards. But to say as a rule that you shall be, or if you're not, you shall, or if you are, you shall prove, you're not in that position.
And the final follow-up would be, how do we square our rules versus long-term care, which I believe has a 3-part component to, 1, prove you've been vaccinated, 2, provide details as to why you can't be vaccinated or religious reasons why you can't, or 3, that you've taken an educational course that validates that you're in a position to be able to safely enter into in terms of long-term care.
Yeah, good question. Through you, Chair White. Ultimately, these rules are adopted on a case-by-case basis, and the rules themselves have got to be justified on the notion of bona fide sort of, let's call it, requirement for the environment. And in the LTC world, it is a bit different than, for instance, a committee or any kind of governance committee or board committee meeting, because of the interactions amongst yourselves, and of course the notion that you're not handling or dealing with what we would call vulnerable citizens who are more prone to greater symptoms and potential death from COVID-19. So the rules do change slightly. All I can say is that from the employment perspective here at the county, the policy will likely be exactly as you put it. Strong recommendation, strong suggestion that folks get vaccinated in accordance with public health advice and recommendations. Secondly, if you're incapable of that, either demonstrate that you're medically exempt and or otherwise exempt. But we won't necessarily be insisting that you show us a medical note and or some sort of a religious kind of exemption. But rather, if you don't demonstrate vaccination, or you don't say that you've been vaccinated, then you will go through that familiarization training. Absolutely.
Councillor Bushi, then Councillor Loosely, please.
I think we all know the second vaccination is important. So if no one get it, say by October 6th when we meet again, can we say, can we have that person appear on Google?
Mr. Tifo, do we have the technology right now to have remote membership participation?
Through you again, Chair White, there will be. Over the course of the last year, we've invested in technology so that folks can be in the room itself and or participate through an online platform. And I would suggest that would be up to the at some point in time up to the individual counselor to decide what he or she is comfortable with doing. The flip side of that is to say, hey, can I force you, if you haven't proven that you're vaccinated, not to be in the same room? I don't believe you're in that position. And again, as we walk through that, we'll still be going through public health recommendations, precautions, including distancing and whatnot.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Loosely, please.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Chairman White. I guess I just want to just go on record to say I strongly support that we encourage, if possible, for all members to have that. And maybe we should consider putting something on the record either now or at the next meeting just to state that, so it is on record. So we are kind of encouraging all the county councilors to please be vaccinated. And I think fully vaccinated is the word for the two. And just, if I can, a point of order, Chairman White, in case I missed something, did we vote on lifting this from the table? Should we not have lifted it from the table first and then open it up for discussion?
We should have. Did I not call the vote on that? I feel like we just definitely strayed into open
I think we should
conversation.
call the vote on that first and then get into our discussion, Mr. Chair.
I know we had a mover and a seconder, so just in case I didn't call the vote, let's vote on that. Call the question. All in favor of lifting it from the table? Thank you.
Thank you.
And that way, I will look for. I mean, we've already had some discussion, which I'm just offering a little bit of latitude here. Look for a motion then, based on the recommendations that have been provided to us. Councillor Broad. Councillor Broad, do you have a motion?
I'm just basically to follow the recommendations, Brian.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Loosely. And then just to make it clear, Mr. Tifo, the recommendation is to table this further until October 6th?
That's exactly correct, at which point in time we'll have the same discussion in terms of how to move on meeting in person. And the reason for going to October 6th is we truly hope that the picture clears up a little bit better by then.
Okay, thank you. And look for any other discussion or questions on this matter. And again, I appreciate the dialogue we've already had, just helping to sort through the tablings and the situation that we have at hand. So thank you all for that discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor? That is passed. And there was some discussion about potentially bringing forward a motion in regards to compelling or encouraging members. Based on this conversation that we're having, I would see that as other business for this particular section. So I would certainly look for either a motion or a notice of motion right now. Councillor Stark?
As per the wording of Councillor Loosely, I believe strongly encourage all members of County Council to be fully inoculated ASAP, and certainly prior to October the 7th.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that. Councillor Loosely, are you seconding that?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? And that is passed. That includes myself on that one. My second vax is already booked as well, so I'm excited. Looking forward to it. Okay, looking to other business then for corporate services. First, I'll look to the committee. I see none. Mr. Tifo, is there anything from staff?
I have nothing at this point.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 6, Finance, Facilities, and Court Services. We have one information report, 2021 Budget Review and COVID-19 Impacts Update. Looking for a motion to receive this information report. Councillor Cook, Councillor Ferguson seconds that. Any discussion? Councillor Cook.
Thank you. So just a comment through to Mr. Pellicino. It looks good. The numbers are, I'd say, as positive as you can get, but it looks like they're doing some very good research and planning to get us through the next little phase of COVID activity anyway. So I'm buoyed by the fact that we're still looking at a balanced budget so far. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It's a great comment. Councillor Broad.
Yeah, thanks. Through you, Chair. I think we need to review this information. There's a lot of one-timers that the province has doled out here, and I think we need to give the province a little bit of time, but we also, as a county council, I think it should be through the county council that we send a motion off to them where, you know, they start making some of this funding permanent. They've started it now. It's there. This stuff isn't going to go away. There's a lot of things within that budget that's not going away at all. And I just hope they don't download it on the county to look after it. I think we need to give the province a little bit of time, but I think we also, as county council, need to be prepared to send something off to them to bring some of this stuff and make it permanent instead of temporary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's a great comment. An excellent point made. Any other discussion? I see none. So, Councillor Broad, is that something you're prepared to do right now, or are you just looking to the future to keep our eye on this?
No, I think we can just look to the future on it, Brian. For right now, we got to be fair to the province, right? We need to give them a little opportunity too. So.
Great. So maybe somewhere closer to the end of the year, we can maybe review this. And okay. Mr. Pelarchio, is that reasonable for you as well? Just sort of as a heads up that we could maybe have this conversation in 4 or 5 months?
Through the chair, absolutely. I think that was a very good observation in reviewing the review of the report. The report basically identifies and highlights one-time cost pressures that's been offset by one-time funding. At the county, we do realize and recognize some of these one-time cost pressures will more than likely not go away, especially in the long-term care sector, as well as in housing and so forth. So this is a budget year that we're hopeful that we'll stay balanced, but it's in those future budget years, for example, 2022 and moving forward as to how we fund those pressures that will more than likely not go away. So totally open and welcome to any comments or motions made by county council in the future.
Okay, thank you so much. Councillor Bushi, did you have a question or were you ready to vote?
Sorry.
Okay. All right. See if anyone else has their hand up. I see none. We'll call the question. All in favor? And that is passed. Thank you. And I will look for any other business. First, I'll look to the committee. Seeing none. Mr. Pilarchio, anything from your end, sir?
Nothing major to report. We're working on 10-year capital asset management planning. Just a heads up on that as we look at reviewing our capital forecast over the next 10 years.
Great. Thank you. All right. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And we will move on to social services. We have an information report regarding housing and homelessness. We'll look for that. Let's see. Look for a motion to receive that, please. Councillor Broad, Councillor Stark seconds that. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? That is received. I apologize. There were actually two in there. So we'll just do the other one. The circles update for June 26th or June 16th, 2021. Look for a motion. Councillor Arnold and Councillor Broad seconds that. Thank you. Any discussion on that issue? I see none. All in favor? That is passed. Thank you. First, I'll look to councillors for any other business under social services. I see none. Ms. Colasanti, anything from you?
I don't have anything to add other than I'd just like to thank Council for their support of the Circles program. Last night we had a graduation and we had 22 individuals graduate from the program. Most have gone on to further their education and self-sufficiency, so it was wonderful. Thank you.
That is fantastic news. Thank you for sharing that with us. That is the stuff we work for, and that individual should be commended and congratulated and pass on our sincerest best wishes. So it's great news. Thank you. That is it for our regular agenda. We're going to move on to an item in camera. So for those watching publicly, we will pass the motion to go in camera. We will then end the live stream at that point or pause it. I believe we're coming back just for an adjournment motion, so you're probably not going to get much excitement there, but just for your reference, that's how this will go. So I will look for a motion to go in camera to discuss the following. It's a verbal report regarding an update on the security of the property of the municipality or local board pursuant to Section 239(2)A of the Municipal Act 2001. Councillor Lucy makes that motion. Warden Marriott seconds that. All in favor? That is passed. So we will go into camera. I'll just wait for our cue that we are no longer streaming.